12.
And we are live. All right.
And we are live.
Happy Friday, Karen.
Happy Friday, honey.
Thank you. As we start out kind of a glum, like, all right, what's our vibe here all of a sudden? We're like, oh, it's Friday. So
we were just like chatting for 5 minutes, like deep into weekend plans and the weather as you talk about the weather, because
yes.
it's what you do. So hi, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream of The Exchange. We're glad to be here.
We are. And actually, real quick, unplanned. I had a few conversations this week with folks who said that how much they were watching and how much they really appreciated and loved the exchange. I will give a shout out to one of them because I have permission. AJ Kieran's. Thank you. But there were a couple other folks. So yeah, there's some people that appreciate the time that we spend here.
Well, that's good to hear. And also, I can't help but think of AJ and think like, oh, he's a good human, because doesn't he have like a tagline right now? Like, that's be a good human. Like, isn't he all about being a good human? So that was the first. AJ, just to let you know, my first thought was, oh, he's a good human. So, so his self-marketing is working, that's what he wants of all of us. So.
He is a good human, and Lord knows we need more good humans nowadays. So
seriously.
And is that a segue? I don't know, because now we talk into technology.
Such a great segue as we focus on humanity, because we're here to talk about AI again, friends. Like we can't help ourselves.
Get used to it.
What are you gonna do? It's just omnipresent for us right now. So one of the things that Lenny shared was a New York Times article shared with me. When I say when Lenny shared with me, I share with him. We are always sharing content back and forth. And this particular New York Times article was talking about how AI agents that roam the internet could one day replace workers. And I read it and I thought, really? Are we back here again about losing our jobs to AI? Because I thought we had gotten over that hurdle and we were back on, no, AI will make us more efficient. It will save us time and we will still bring the human lens. And then enter this article, which we'll share, which is all about these AI agents, how chatbots are being chained to, do the things for us. So not necessarily just the AI, but the chatbot option in AI where they're doing the work. And I don't know if you want to share a little bit more about Pathlight and the Pathlight CEO and what he was saying, because it's really interesting to talk about insight streams and how that particular role, I don't know, it was good stuff, Lenny.
It was, well, one, I take offense at their word of insights, but that's quibbling, right? Data, information. Yes,
information.
I'll give them that. So
okay. Put a pin in that, because we'll come back to it in the second thing we talk about whether the chatbots are going to be able to get to insights. Imagine anyway, but
right.
I of ourselves.
Yes, but it's a good point. I mean, that article, it was interesting, and yes, it was like our robot overlords are coming. The next iteration of that. But the reality is these types of technologies, especially in the world of CX, have existed for a very long time. Were they sophisticated? No. Right. But we have all experienced, going online or through the telephone prompts and dealing with these intelligent agents that were basically decision trees. Now, these are different. The point of like all AI is it can synthesize information and be more sophisticated and guide you better. But this isn't new.
It's just the thing that made me go aha about it is we're talking about these customer service conversations, right, that are being had, is the ability of the AI to connect the dots from past conversations to conversations happening concurrently and literally do the work of, oh, wait a minute, something that humans can't really do to that that scope and expanse. And I think that's really important.
Yes, the synthesis of information absolutely is that is a big deal. So is anybody surprised? Are we going to see more of this? Of course we are. Are we going to see it applied within the insight space? Yes, we've been. Currently there are chat bots deployed to help with insights. That's basically takes your previous answer. It's pre-programmed and it gives you some different options, and it feels like conversational AI. So we're seeing more and more of that. It hasn't hit wide scale adoption yet, but there's certainly multiple companies that are playing with it, and many others that are planning for it. So we'll see that change, absolutely, and it will enter into the data stream. I want to this may not be the right time to share it, but I am, because this just dawned on me this morning. I thought about remember when you defragment your hard drive and you would see the visual.
Oh,
And that first visual, and it was like all these chunks.
By the way, there are some people that have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well, for them who use a Windows machine, there is an option called defragment your hard drive.
Yeah.
And the visualization when it first popped up,
it was pretty cool, actually.
It was, and you would see all these gaps, right?
Yeah.
Where it was in how your machine was utilizing information. So
right, and is it working optimally? You know,
right. But that's where we are with AI, right?
Yeah.
Where it's defragmenting the information stream, and there are other components that are missing in gaps, and that will increasingly be the role of research, is to fill in those gaps, to defragment the information stream.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I thought it was a pretty cool analogy. So
yeah.
And that's so we'll see the efficiencies of the platforms increasing, utilizing tools like the bots to help make that more efficient. But AI doesn't know what questions to ask because it doesn't know what it's missing.
Right.
And that's kind of my comment. Maybe we can get into the insights piece, right? So it may be able to contextualize information and make recommendations and carry on a conversation. And we know that it can do that, but it doesn't know what it doesn't know.
Well, and the thing that's interesting about that is this Pathlight CEO in this article, he's quoted as saying, in that particular article, he's quoted as saying, what we have found is every single executive has a series of questions in their head that they don't have answers to, that keeps them up at night. And I'm sure, right? This is what, if you're the CEO of a company and you have, customer service agents across the board, and you have these burning questions, that's their job. Their role is to ponder the hard questions. And now they can ask them of a bot, because you're not relying, it would be not humanly possible for a human being to have the answer at the ready to some of these CEOs' burning questions.
Right.
But the bots might actually be able to do that and connect threads in a different way. So that's like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting.
It is, but the information has to exist. And I guess that's what, I think there's a subtle difference there, right? That the, so sorry, Cobra Kai.
Don't let him wake up my dog who's sleeping nicely.
Cobra Kai says hello. So yes, if the information exists, go find this this type of information. Absolutely, 100%. Sometimes information doesn't exist. That's why we have to go ask.
Yeah,
we have to create the data to find that out.
Yeah,
and that's kind of that missing piece of the defragmenting component. And so when I read things like this, I don't get freaked out, because I think we still, there is so much we don't know. I don't know about you, but the older I get, the more I realize I don't know jack. Right. So, I mean, even my interpretation of reality is changing. It's like, heck if I know. So
about some things. No.
About
some things. There are some things where the older I get, I'm like, yeah, I've learned a thing or two.
Yes. Absolutely. But there's other things like whatever.
Exactly.
But
all right,
I think that's that piece. Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's just segue into that and into the difference between knowledge and wisdom that comes, because one of the other things you shared with me this week was and friends, let me just take a step back. If you were listening last week, do you remember when I said to Lenny, I'm like, wait, now I know what generative AI is. And we talked about summative AI, and we're like, what's this RAG business? And we're digging into titles and descriptions and all that. This was an article on cognitive AI. And it was in a a newsletter that I had never heard of that Lenny shared with me called AI Munch, which, shout out for a fun name. I just like a fun newsletter name. Anyway, but they were talking about cognitive AI being able to emulate human-like cognitive processes, contextual understanding, and decision-making abilities. Come on, Lenny. Like, that's what we've been saying all along, is at least the AI can't take all that data and glean an insight, but maybe with cognitive AI, it can glean insights. It can. Come on, what?
That's the stuff, right? I know we talked about before, but remember last year when the Google engineer came out and said, you know, not Bard, but
Yeah,
the system that we're really working on, I
yeah,
think it's sentient.
yeah,
That's an example of that type of technology, and it is not ready for prime time.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And I hope it's not released before it's ready for prime time. Like I hope like we keep the lid on that and
right.
that to me is where that's where then it becomes like, oh, wait a minute. We now need to rethink everything that we've been talking about and processing for the last year, which is that at least the humans can still do the thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that goes into some, kind of peers. I don't know, Jack, right? I listened to interesting this week about the nature of consciousness and all of, these esoteric,
Yeah, yeah,
concepts. And we're not getting all that right now, but
yeah,
but
yeah,
but they are relevant to this because that's what they're kind of hitting at.
yeah.
The difference between intellect and consciousness.
Right.
And intellect, is a function that synthesizes emotion and context and intuition and yada yada yada. Are people working on it? Yeah, of course
Yeah,
they are. They have been.
they
We
are.
know those technologies exist. They're
Yeah.
not ready for prime time yet. And to your point, I don't think we're going to get there like we did with ChatGPT. I don't expect a release in November
I hope not.
that here's the cognitive AI and
Yeah.
it can do all of your thinking for you.
Yeah.
I don't think we're
But
there
you
yet.
think about those insight streams. So now tying this back to the insight streams. So we have these AI agents
Yep.
who are scanning, kind of customer service conversations that are happening all the time in large call centers and getting all of this customer data in through surveys and all of that. It's now we have these AI agents, and if we give them this cognitive AI capability, they're going to be able to scour all of that and then say, it's interesting, and chuck things at us that it maybe does become an insight stream rather than just
Yeah.
a knowledge stream. And
And
I
it
think
could be.
that's where insights professionals need to really just say, I'm paying attention. Because if they can start to glean insights, which is something that we all struggle, like there isn't an insights professional out there that hasn't said, wait, is that a finding or an insight at some point in their career?
Right.
Like that is the work that has to happen in our brains. And that's what differentiates a truly good researcher
Right.
is somebody who can take the findings and say, here's the nugget, the golden aha from
Right.
what you heard.
Right.
And if the machines start doing that for us,
I saw an example earlier this week of a company that they're showing me their new platform has AI incorporated in it, and I won't mention their name. And they were calling what I would say is a summary of information in insight.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a summary.
Yeah.
That's important, right? A synthesis, that's important. It was synthesizing information into here's the relevant piece that came out of that. But it's not an insight. The insight is the aha. And maybe this is human bias, right? I think that requires some level of creativity and intuition and all of those things to determine. So I am skeptical that that even the most advanced cognitive AI system will be able to deliver that aha.
Yeah.
And it certainly won't be able to deliver that creative, here's what to do next. But I could just be whistling past the graveyard.
I don't know. I just keep sitting there. I don't know. I today I feel a little more intrigued by what's to come and curious as to what's to come, because
Sure.
I think that we just all have to go into this space that we're in and think about the possibilities. What is possible? Because nothing is really impossible when you start to peel away at this onion called AI. Like it's really interesting, right?
And we've got Moore's law going on now, right? And that curve. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So thus enter like kind of the last nugget that we want to talk about today is sort of some of the things, right? How our world is overcoming challenges. So you want to talk about stability AI and some of those copyright infringements, because there's some good stuff there. And I'm talking specifically for any of us who might have been dabbling with image copyright or image generators like DALL-E or Midjourney or any of that Jasper stuff, like anything that you're experimenting with, hold on for a second. Hold your hats.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so, anyone who has paid attention, especially to my soapbox the past few years of talking about data privacy and data ownership and all of those good things, right? The logical outgrowth of that at the advent of generative AI was not just that, but also copyright ownership, IP, for content creators, for whether it's a blog or an author or a paper, newspaper articles, et cetera, images, those AI doesn't create jack. AI synthesizes information from existing pieces of information.
Right.
And, we've been operating on the assumption, well, it's online, so it's a free for all for everybody.
Right.
Well, go back and look at the advent of the social media analytics age. So that open fire hose lasted like a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then everybody said, oh, wait, no, you have to pay for
Yeah.
access to this information. And now that the legal challenges have emerged, the Stability AI is, I'm reading this specifically, subject to a copyright lawsuit because of Stable Diffusion, the open source product incorporated into Midjourney, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Yeah.
We're artists or photographers more often, or say, wait, that's my copyrighted image. And you're using that as a training set to create, all these cool images. And then you need to pay me a royalty.
Yeah.
So watch this space carefully. I think that's going to continue to be a much bigger issue. It is going to pull in the idea of ethically sourced data and data ownership.
Yeah. And even for those members of our audience who are insights company marketers, we've had conversations with some, people in our community about their own content marketing. I mean, really, we are in the business of marketing content, and we've talked to people about their use of these tools to market their businesses. And so there's people writing and there's people creating images using these tools in our audience. So for all of you who are using these tools, just take pause and say, are we using these tools for our own content marketing purposes? Because there could be some dangers in doing so, and you have to really look into that and be careful. So it's like twofold for our audience, right? Data privacy and data ownership issues. Yes, that's all a big part of it, but also the content marketing, that's also a part of it, just to warn everybody. Warning.
Yeah. And let me add two pieces to that real quick. Because here's the opportunity. Well, another warning and the opportunity.
Yeah.
Start thinking about having to pay for access to this, just like you pay for access to the image libraries.
Yeah. Stock photo or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Stock photo stuff. The gravy train is coming to an end to have open access to these things, and get ready. You're going to have to pay some type of royalty fee for access to utilize it. You're going to have to pay, let's say ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is going to have to pay, the content owners and creators. So one, there's a big opportunity there for a marketplace to handle that. So that's an interesting opportunity. But second, a workaround for those big issues is small language models, which we are awash in our industry, especially panel companies. Hint. Right? Right. You are awash in primarily ethically sourced. There's some exceptions, as we know recently, but of licensed data.
Yeah.
And because if you're GDPR compliant, you automatically will fit into that arena. And think about those as new training sets to do these things. And so there's so many new monetization opportunities for insights companies that sit and own large data repositories. And brands are keenly aware of that, because you see this lawsuit and we're giving warnings. Well, Unilever, P&G, J&J, they're going, oh, all right, stop the train. We do not want this liability.
Right.
But they will be saying, but wait, we're sitting on, petabytes of data. Rather than just using this external stuff, can we use our own? And that is a unique opportunity for insights companies to step up and say, yes, we can. So pay attention to this, guys. It really is. It's a threat. And like all threats, it is an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. And it is heartening to know also other things we wanted to share out this week. Heartening to know that there are regulating bodies who are doing things to make sure that we are not just navigating this space by ourselves. So kind of two things that popped up in the news this week. One, local, here in the US for Lenny and I, New York City unveiled an AI action plan to help kind of protect against potential risks of using AI while developing tools for city officials. So that's like, all right, interesting. It's happening at, at the city level here in government. And then also we found out on Research Live that the UK government, is investing in helping companies working on these projects to tackle biases and discrimination in AI systems. So, I think it's really another one of those signals that we are not necessarily navigating this alone, that governments are taking it seriously, whether it's in the UK, whether it's here in the US. There are groups of governing bodies coming together to do their part to help. I think that's a good thing.
It is. And I hope then we'll give a shout out to our trade associations, right? SMR and Insight Association. And, if we follow on the idea of how our industry is a data feed to help drive AI, and we hope that you will get involved with the same level of advocacy around that as you did with GDPR and any other legislation that affects data privacy, because this does affect our industry. And on a purely selfish level, like you want to slap down the social media platforms, I'm okay with that, but don't slap down market research companies. Right? So go after Google all you want, but don't go after Ipsos.
It doesn't mean that, Google.
I don't mean that. But that you're the targets. That you are, whether you just are.
Well, that's so funny because that's something that I hear all the time is, remember, on some level, Karen, we all work for Google. And I'm like, right, on some level we all work for Google. So I'm like, don't talk about our boss that way.
Right. Sorry. And I love Google. I was on the board of Google Surveys. I love Google, but they are that's who they're going to go after for.
I know. And I think, though, for kind of the big takeaway message for me when I think about all this, and I think about the challenges, and I think about the legalities, and I think about who's doing what in terms of putting some guardrails around it, and who's advocating for safer, for more ethical, et cetera, et cetera. When I think about all that, I think about, all right, we are not alone in navigating this terrain, and we're in this interesting new world, and everybody in our industry who is listening in, I know they're tuned in for it, right? And that's also a good thing. People are listening to this and thinking about it, being really mindful that we are, we are in something big and just navigating it together.
That's right. And we're not being buffeted, chaotically by the winds of change from other sources. That's there, right? But we do have a level of influence and control here. And maybe just in general, the world feels very chaotic in many ways right now. So, and focus on what we can do. And this is one of those things that we can do, right? We can think about pragmatic applications. We can think about the future, and we can think about what we as an industry can do to help influence the direction of things as they progress. So we continue to play the vital role that we have always played in the keepers of the why. And I still think that is ultimately all of this stuff we're talking about. Reinforces that concept for me, that the insight space is the keepers of the why. Now we can diagram that out on what, how we tactically deliver on that in the world of utilizing these tools. And that's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I'm a little bit like hung up on the keepers of the whys. It's the first time I've heard you use that phrase, the keepers of the why, but I like it.
Oh, I think I first wrote about it using that term with a QRCA interview back in 2010. I'm resurrecting something that didn't catch on. So now I want to catch on.
I'm game. Keepers of the why.
Keepers of the why. Nice. And I see a comment from Patrick, who we discovered we can't comment back to you. Deep learning. Yes, that's the cognitive AI component that, has been around for a long time. And now we'll see where that goes.
Well, yeah. And even we do have to wrap because here it is 25 minutes again. But, I think about that and I'm like, deep learning has been around a long time. a lot of these things have been around, but we get to a different level of awareness when it suddenly is in our businesses, right?
Right,
That was
right
always
there in front
deep
of us.
learning was always something that, was handled by those IBMers at their mainframes, right? And like in my head was totally different space. And now it's been brought into our space. So it's really great to have renewed conversations around it in a way that's relevant.
Yeah. Oh, and AJ, real quick, seeing it in projects. Responded that isn't good enough is bad data. Yeah, we talked about that, last week, the
Yeah.
contamination of bad data in the data flow, the data supply chain.
Yeah.
So again, we have to continue to have that conversation as well on the purification of information, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a good conversation. Boy, Lenny and I can talk, really.
We really can. Look, I think, we aim for 20. We usually go like 30. It's okay. And bless you.
Exactly.
Bless
Exactly.
you.
It's all good. I hope that everybody has a good weekend to come. I hope it's dry where you are and not pouring rain.
Yeah.
That's
Go
all I'm
with
going to say about that. If you know what we're talking about here. There's
and
memes all over my TikTok about, oh, yes, it's the weekend. That means it's going to rain again. So
go.
whatever.
But to your point, go outside, enjoy autumn, enjoy the colors, bob for apples, get a pumpkin,
Right.
drink a pumpkin spice latte, do something.
Yes. Do
But have a
something.
great
Nice,
weekend.
seasonable thing. Have a great weekend, everybody. Lenny, great to talk to you again.
As always, bye everybody. Take care.
Bye all. Thanks, Patrick.